Hello, Soul Family. Thank you for joining for this live event. Our main topic today will be guides. Like, who are they? What role do they play in our lives? How can they assist us? How can we connect with them? And how this whole relationship works in our own personal and also in their evolution as well. So thank you very much for joining. I see we have Donna and Jacaranda Marie with us. Thank you very much for joining. And we also have some questions. So yeah. So if anyone has any questions regarding the topic, or you wish to share stories regarding the topic, how do you communicate with your guides, then please share it in the comment section. I'm greeting everyone from Transylvania. I'm sending you very warm hugs and warm weather. It's still very hot around here. And yeah, we have Joe. Thank you for sending 3 suns. We have quite enough of it. And yeah, before we start more of the topic, thank you from everyone who has joined us, not yesterday, but on Tuesday. We had a live channeling session, group channeling session on Zoom. If you can check out the community section, the post is still there. Like, this is something that is not recorded or aired anywhere, so anyone who joins can be there and nothing remains of the session. So it is highly encouraged. Anyone who is interested in joining a free group channeling session, we will do one next week, no, not next week, but next month as well, when the Sirius gateway opens and interesting alignments will happen. In a trance state, I will bring through my guides from Sirius. I will also talk about a bit them as well. In the framework of this whole event, I can bring through my guides in a channeling trance state, and anyone who is present can ask them questions. It is preferred that you ask them verbally because it can have a much more deeper connection with them. And many people did. So anyone who is watching from that team, thank you very much. It was really cool. And yes, it was a very fun event, like 30 people or so joined at a certain point. It was really cool. And it lasted about like 1.5 hours. So when that's gone, it's gone. So it's really, and also Higher Vibrations is the one who set up this whole meeting. And we are using her template for these Zoom gatherings. So anyone can join who has the link, which is being shared in the community section of our channels. And anyone can speak or write in, or if you don't want to, you don't have to speak. You don't have to show your face, just be present and experience it. So yeah, we are going to do one next month as well. Not sure yet on which day, but we will talk about it more when it's becoming more clear. So enough about that. It was really cool. I hope that many people can join us next month as well. But now we're coming back to our guides. Like, who are they? How can we work with them? And I see more people are joining. We have Mariana. Thank you for joining from Belgium. Thank you. And, oh, I missed that one. Yes, you have missed it. And the thing is, if anyone has missed that one, there is no replay. So that's a one-time only thing. That's why it's so magical and also a bit more private, because like what you say, it stays there. Nobody is going to record it. Maybe people may remember it, but that's about it. Okay, we have some questions. Yes, I see Jacaranda Marie. Excellent that you're doing another Zoom. Yes, I'll make sure to catch it this one. I miss connecting with the hooting. Yes. Yeah, it was a really interesting, energetic mix that we had on Tuesday. That we had a challenge with so many people at the same time. I remember like back in the days, it was really confusing energetically when like more people were communicating, but now it had a really good flow. So we're making progress. Okay, so let's go back to the guides. So I'm also going to like reflect back like at the beginning of my own spiritual journey. Like when I had my awakening, like how did I develop my connection with my spiritual guides? Guardian angels, spirit guides, totem animals, like however you want to phrase them. Like there are many names for them and they are very diverse, and many things can serve as a guide in our lives basically. But yeah, I will try to reflect as much as possible on the early phases of it, like how can you develop your relationship more with your guides? How does it work? How can you recognize it? And stuff like that. So anyone, thank you for joining. I see 15 of us here. That's awesome. Yes, like anyone who has questions or you want to share your story about your guides, like how do you connect with your guides? What methods do you use? Like how do you interpret signs or feelings, or maybe you hear some thoughts in your mind? Like it is different for everyone. Okay, but I will go back to the very beginnings, on mine at least, while people are writing in. So at the very beginning, before my spiritual awakening, I did communicate with my guides, although it was not a conscious thing. So I always heard about this topic of spirit guides and guardian angels, but I never really thought anything of it. So I never think about it. I never even thought maybe I would have one or something. But even back in those days, I had this strange little thing that I did, which I thought like only I did, like a communication with myself type of thing. Like whenever I maybe asked a question or wanted to do something, and I always had like this polarity in that. So like my right hand was, I know this for you guys is the left hand, but my right hand was the yes, the positive answer, and my left hand was the negative, the no. And whenever I wanted to do something, okay, then I will not do that. And I was really not, I see that we have reconnected. Okay. And this was like not consciously a guide's communication. It's just like something that I did automatically. And I think I started doing this in my teenage years. And when I shared this with someone, they thought I was crazy. I'm just making stuff up, which was very much my perspective on it as well, because I also didn't really believe in it, but still I did it to a certain extent. And after I had my awakening, my spiritual awakening in 2012, then I really opened up to this whole topic and concept of guides, guardian angels, and beings who are with us, assisting you, and started exploring it more and more. So I think most of us like spend our lives like thinking that you're like constantly alone. You're alone in your life and in your struggles and like whatever you do. But as you open up to more what is around you, basically, you start to realize that you're never alone, and you always have this back and forth and constant communication and assistance with different aspects of yourself, with your guides, maybe masters, and or whatever, whoever who is assisting you in whatever you're doing at that time. Like regardless like how subtle it may be, sometimes maybe it may seem as like an intervention if like something would happen and you're like protected from it, and that would be something very obvious. But sometimes, most of the times, it's like super subtle, and if you don't pay attention or you don't want to recognize it, then that's how it will be. And that's completely fine with them. They don't want to be in your face. They don't want to be recognized. They're there to assist you, like not to present themselves to you or anything. They're your support team working in the background. And I see more people are joining. Yes. I see we have Julie. Hello, much love. Thank you for joining. G Campus started at, no, you joined at 11:10. Great. It's 8:11 around here. And we have high vibrations. Yay. Thank you for joining higher vibrations. I just shared some thoughts and info about what we did on Tuesday. Thank you for being the moderator for that. You did an excellent job. And we had a really good flow. Awesome. Okay, yes, in G Campus, I totally agree with you. I feel that way, but I am protected, yes. And at your place, it's 11:11 a.m. Okay, yes, and also they can communicate through synchronicities as well. We will go into that as well. But yeah, in general, their presence is super subtle. Their communication is super subtle, and they will never bombastically like come in or do anything or attract your attention over something. It can happen. It's very rare, And when they do, it's probably very important. So it's good to pay attention when something out of the ordinary happens, or your attention is like drawn upon something very intensely. It's usually because, like, pay attention, that's going to be important, or something is about to happen. So yeah, that's very important. But other times, super subtle. That is why I think many people believe that they don't have guides, or you're disconnected from them, or it's something that you just invent, basically. Okay, but how can you communicate with them? How can you recognize them? Let's start with like how to recognize communications with them. So in general, like, communication is always present. So just by us merely existing, we're constantly sending out impulses, we're constantly sending out frequencies and energies from our being, and we're also receiving a lot as well. And usually people receive it who are around us, but I think, at least in my opinion, with people with whom we have a much more deeper connection, we can communicate much more broadly and even at greater distances as well, through time and space, or incarnations even. And we are constantly receiving and constantly giving energy, like, may that be, I don't know, like feelings, information, maybe a download regarding something, activations, or experiences that you need to have if you want to do a specific thing. And how this works, and like what force is guiding this constant feedback and communication back and forth, is what you're focusing on, your core vibration, like who you are, what are you close in resonance with, like what type of person you are, what thoughts you have, what feelings you have, what is your attention on, like what type of activities you do. Maybe you have a project, maybe you're writing a book or creating something that is of a specific nature, and you have like placed this inquiry to the universe that, okay, like, I want to do this, and you're going to receive back information, energies, you name it, that is going to assist you with doing that specific thing. And most often than not, when you're like learning something new, you will maybe have a new guide for that specific period, because like they are the best fit for you in that time frame to assist you with that learning process. And sometimes guides do you may receive new ones, you may have reoccurring guides, like whenever you're returning to a specific topic or issue in your lives, they come back to assist you with that. Or maybe you have, but you constantly have someone who is with you. So you're never alone. You always have someone making sure that everything flows in perfect balance, making sure that you will experience everything that you need to experience, and making sure that you will not experience things that you shouldn't experience. So it's, in a sense, is like a moderator of experiences and energies that you will perceive and receive in your own life, basically. And we have Levi. Hello. Jó estét. Jó szurkolást. Okay, köszönöm szépen. Yes. Okay. So let's go back to more communications. Like, how can these communications manifest? So we already covered that it's super subtle. Most of the time, you may have exceptions when they really want to draw your attention on something, and you should pay attention when that happens. But yes, in general, they can communicate through your feelings, your own thoughts. For example, all of a sudden you're doing something, but all of a sudden your attention is like drawn upon something that you haven't been thinking about for quite some time. Or maybe a specific person or an event like comes into your mind all of a sudden, like out of the blue. It makes no sense logically, but all of a sudden it just pops into your mind. And that's usually your higher self, guides, or whomever you're associated with, sending you info regarding stuff that you should pay attention to or focus on, because there will be something important there for you. It can be a thought, and also subtle synchronicities and very crazy synchronicities too. So that's also a communication form with your guides. For example, Maybe you have a question regarding something, or maybe you have doubts regarding something that you would want to do, but you're not sure about it. And like some kind of huge confirmation comes your way by whatever means. And that's also type of communication that, yes, like do that. Or yeah. And many people, yeah, like see, we just talked about 1111 numeric synchronicities, or maybe I know, like many people talk about books flying off the shelves, like in Ghostbusters or something. And yeah, like that book is exactly about the information that you need to read at that time. Or maybe a music, I know, some kind of music comes up on the radio, if anyone's still listening to radio, that holds some kind of synchronicity for you, or is like a confirmation for your question, for example, or your doubts. So it can be many things, and usually they are signs and things that make sense to you, basically. Like that's the most important. And they will always communicate through symbols, synchronicities that makes sense to you. So for everyone it will be a bit different, but the things that I've stated previously are kind of the general stuff that many people are experiencing. Okay, yes. Yeah, and the other version that can happen through communication is like when you think about something, like I had this many times, and I also heard it from other people, that maybe you think of something, or I ask a question, and maybe you're in with a group of people or in a crowd, and maybe the person next to you who you don't even know maybe is talking on the phone. And like he says, like 3 words that is like the response to a question. That can happen many times. Yeah, it's very crazy, but it's awesome. Yes, I see we have new people. We have Jay Hunter. Thank you for joining. Hello, Guardian. Great explanation. Thank you. Yes, and let's go back to the questions before I forget that they exist. So Jacaranda Maria's had a question. Do we choose our guides, or do they choose us? I'm not sure. I think many times it's like I don't know, like both parties need to agree that we are going to do this together. But I think it happens before we come into an incarnation. For example, this one, like we create contracts with different beings. May that be different aspects of ourselves, maybe deceased loved ones, or even people in the physical who are maybe already born or will be born. In some cases, I heard of people reporting that they know that maybe their child is one of their guides, like incarnate right now. They're embodying one of their guides. And yeah, like we create contracts before coming in. So, and they will come into our lives when we are ready, basically. But we will have always someone with us who is watching over us, making sure that everything's okay. And whenever we reach a point in our life, in our evolution, maybe a new one will come in. They will teach us something, then they will move on. We move on as well. And maybe a new one will come in, or maybe the old one will come back. So it's a very complex process. And I think most of the time we're not even aware of like who is who, or from where am I receiving this information, who is helping me exactly. And that's kind of completely normal. And I also received many times the answer. I know that many people are like very fixated on like knowing that, oh, like where did this information come from, or who are my guides exactly. And many times they don't really share that information, or don't really want you to know, because sometimes it probably is something that we're not ready to understand yet, or we have zero reference to what that is. And instead of like focusing on the information, the assistance, and the relationship that you are having, instead of that, you're going to focus on this thing that doesn't matter that much, really. Okay, so we have another question from Jacaranda Marie. Are any of our guides actually ourselves in the future timeline, although time is not linear? Yeah, like we have to address that crazy topic too. Yeah, So guides can be many things. Also, in my experience, I also listen to other people's experience, which is awesome that we can compare notes. But yeah, like many things can be guides, and most of the time they are something that is like very close to us, which means that they are the different aspect of ourselves, basically. On another plane of existence, on another timeline. Maybe it can, I will also go into that later on. Like, I also had an experience, I will explain it now. So basically, I had my spiritual awakening in 2012. And in a nutshell, I had some major revelations during the time of February of 2012 regarding my life, where I was heading and all that stuff. And when I like realized that I was like not heading in a good direction, like all of a sudden this huge flow of love and support and just like overwhelmed me, like flowed through all of my body, all my being, and it was just overwhelming. I started to cry basically. And like that was a huge catalyst in my growth. It like initiated me into something new. And 10 years later, I did my regular meditation at, I don't know, like 12 a.m., I think. And I don't plan out stuff for my meditations. I just like go in a state, and I know like, okay, like I will go places or do things that I need to do right now. And I don't really think about it, just go with it. And I was traveling astrally, and while I was in the experience, I was not thinking about it or not rationalizing stuff. And I went to that time and place when I had my spiritual awakening, and I could feel my 10-year-old, 10 years, no, how do you say that? My 21-year-old self being there in that place, having that revelation. And when he had the revelation, I extended the divine love, the divine fire to him from my heart center, and like showered him with that light that I was holding in my astral body. And it didn't last very long. I think it was like a minute or so. And after that was done, I was like coming back to this present lifetime. I was like, oh my God, like what did I just do? What did just happen? So it was basically, I activated myself. So my future self activated me so I can become that future self. So yeah, I still don't really understand this whole like time loop paradox stuff. And also like what is happening on the world, the whole awakening thing also has this like whole coming back from a future timeline to set things in motion in the past so we can arrive in a positive timeline stuff. I still can't really wrap my brain around that. But yeah, like that's also a very weird aspect of what's happening. And I know that some people are awakening to that truth of like what is happening right now in the world, that future versions of us are, I don't like, I wouldn't say manipulating, but putting things in motion so that we can arrive on that timeline. Very similarly, if anyone has seen Interstellar, like in a nutshell, like the Earth's ecosystem is like collapsing or something, and there's this one chance to like move to a different location and like save humanity. And some fifth dimensional beings like created this opportunity, this wormhole, and many crazy stuff happen. And at the end of the movie, they realize that those fifth dimensional beings who have done all of this and like set everything into motion are actually us in the future. So weird stuff. Okay, so yeah, back to the guides. Sorry, that was a really long extra story. So yeah, like our excuse me, our guides can be many things, even ourselves, but basically they are someone or something that is very close to us. And that is why they are our guides, basically, because in resonance we are very close to each other. And as Jacaranda Marie has stated, they are basically a different aspect of us on a different timeline. As I have just shared in the story, it can be something very close, time-wise and energy-wise, something very close, or it can be something very distant, like, you on a much more higher ascended timeline, for example. Like the guys that with whom I've written the books, and I also channel during this channeling state. Like they are a higher aspect of me from Sirius. Like they are like 6th and 7th dimensional beings who have evolved to that state in a very long time. God knows when, millions of years ago, I guess. And yeah, like part of them like choose to have this earthly experience. And that's very much true to many other people too, who are, yeah, like people who call themselves starseeds. That, yeah, like a higher aspect of you decided to have an earthly experience, and a little part of that being became physical and was born into a human, basically. But you have that very strong connection with your higher aspect because it's basically part of you, and you are part of them, basically. And you can have this very strong connection on a very, very deep level with many beings, basically. And usually they are the ones who are your guides because you are very, very close to them. And yes, like sometimes they can be also like a master, like an ascended master, or some kind of archetypal teacher. Maybe, I know, like the Buddha or Christ or Mary Magdalene or whomever you resonate with and makes sense to you for your cultural heritage or for your lineage. Maybe you're also connected lineage-wise as well. And they can come in as well. Although I find that masters like Christ or I don't know, like Thoth or Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, yeah, I had her a lot in my beginning years. They come in periodically, and I also feel that they're not connected to us in that like super deep way as maybe I just described my Syrian guides. I feel like they're like an archetypal energy that is there to assist and like uplift and heal and protect and also teach people who are on this journey. But that's just my take on it. And yeah, like it can also be like deceased loved ones. I didn't really have that as guides, although I did have connection with people who were close to me and passed on. But yeah, like for some people, they can be service guides as well. Okay, so we have some stories, but I will get a bit of water before. Okay, so I see G Campus. I agree. Since childhood, I would feel a presence in my room. In 2014, my granny died. I was invited to a party. I didn't want to go, but was a closer friend, and I felt her sitting next to me. Actually, in 2014 was my granny, my grandmother, and my dad's side. Okay, then in 2015. My doggy, oh, okay. Granny and doggy suffered a lot from cancer before leaving. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about that. I'll only have my mother's side grandma left. Yep, same here. Yes, yeah, like it's very interesting that I'm not sure, like, did she serve as a guide to you or more like a reassuring presence that you're going to be okay, like we are taking care of you? And also I know like many people have... when like their loved ones pass away or transition into the next phase of their lives, basically, they usually like send you goodbye notes. Like I know like many people, even who don't even believe in this, always like talk about like dreaming with them or having some kind of strange dream or experience with their deceased loved ones after they have passed on, usually after the I think it's called burial in English, because like I'm not sure like how much that ritual helps the deceased person, but I think it assists to a certain extent to like close something down for the family and their loved ones. But yeah, usually after that I have heard from many people that they come back and have experiences with them. Sometimes usually it's some kind of like goodbye, like I'm okay, like I wish you all the best, now I'm moving on. and sometimes it can last longer, like a longer, I know, like more interactions. For example, like I spent a year long with my deceased grandma when I was 18. So for a year long, each night when I was sleeping, I spent time with her, basically. And like we did some kind of counseling stuff for her. So it can be very interesting. Okay. So Jay Hunter, hello Guardian, great explanation. I think I already read that, but thank you again. Okay, Jacaranda Marie. Many mornings I wake up with some random song in my head. Yes. Yes, I had that too. Very weird stuff. A new thing that just started is I'll spontaneously sing a few lines of a song I've never heard. Wow, never did that before. It sounds interesting. Yeah, I definitely can relate to the, I don't know, like maybe you dreamed of something, or you just like, when I wake up with a specific song that I like or know very well in my head, just like, and you just can't get rid of it. Or maybe just like specific, whenever like I'm going for something or something is going to happen, or they want to draw my attention upon something, and all of a sudden like this little fragment from a song that I like just like pops in, maybe just like a sentence or a few words, and it's, yeah, like it's almost like a communication. I remember that when I was like shifting, I was like in between jobs or something. Yeah, like I was shifting to a new studio, and all the time, like it's happened for quite a few days, I was like looking for new opportunities, and like a new one, a really good one, like appeared, and all of a sudden, like this song from Van Halen started to play in my mind. If anyone knows, like from Van Halen, Jump, Go Ahead and Jump. I was like, oh, okay, let's do that. So, and it turned out great. So, thank you for the song. Okay, we have Julie. Yes, this is so important as a topic. Thank you so much. Well, thank you. Yeah, like if you have any questions, I don't see that you have written anything else yet, or just any crazy stories. Yeah, like share your stories. Like, how are you communicating with your guides? Or like, what weird synchronicities you had for which you felt the type of communication or guidance in your life. Like, it's unique to everyone. So, and if you haven't had the experiences that we like talked about, that's completely normal, because everyone has their own way of doing it. Just like with channeling as well, or writing books, bringing through information. Like, everyone kind of has to find their own way of doing that. Okay, and let's see. Jan Jacaranda Marie. Then I'll Google the lyrics and be shocked that it's a song from the 40s. Oh, and did that have any type of meaning, maybe? Okay, let me see. We have Laura. Thank you for joining. I think us multidimensional. Is that right? Yes. Like, even though like we are in our human form, like we are still very multidimensional. We are just not as aware of it. Like, as you're making progress on your spiritual journey, and you're like waking up more and more, you're starting to become more aware of your multidimensional nature, like how time works, what other aspects of selves do we have. And yeah, like basically our guides are also an aspect of our multidimensional self, because they are you functioning on a different timeline, a different plane of existence, a different incarnation maybe. I think that's why some people think that their guide is like Cleopatra or some kind of historic figure that everyone knows. It's because like you're drawing upon that specific incarnation. Or like, why is it that many people recount having lived as, I don't know, like Nefertiti or Caesar or something? It's because, and physically you would think that, hey, like there's only like one reincarnation of that person. And that's like a very linear mindset, or like a very linear way of seeing it. But basically what is happening, that you need something in your life, and you're like drawing upon that specific source of information and energy to facilitate whatever you need to do in this life, basically. That's how our guides are working as well. Like, they are doing their own stuff. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are 24/7 with you, but they are also on their own journey, wherever that may be, like in whatever timeline or whatever type of plane of existence. And next to what they're experiencing or doing, they're also serving as your assistants, as your guides, as your protection. And them being your guides is also part of their journey, their learning experience, their evolutionary experience. Okay. So Laura, yes, G Campus. Once happened with a dream I saw at the European castle, and I liked a painting. I was told that was from the 15th century, but it's from the 16th. I was shocked because it was like Jackie Chan's movie, The Myth. Wow, I haven't seen that movie. It was really beautiful, awesome. Yeah, like we can have really crazy and vivid astral experiences. Yes, and I see Laura, I receive messages through music. Yeah, awesome. I guess nobody played records backwards. I never tried. Okay. Okay, let me, oh my god, the chat is jumping all over the place. So if I skip something, you can copy paste it back. Okay, so Rose Matter, thank you for joining. Would they come through in animals as well? Seems that happens often for me to receive messages. Yeah, like I think this is where the animal guides can come in, or like totem animals. And especially like animals, like our companions, animal companions, they can also serve as a type of guides, or our higher guides can express something to you through them, because usually I think they have much easier time connecting with them, since they're not as distracted and busy mentally as we are. So they can easily like send them impulses and maybe, I know, like inspire them to do something that will draw your attention over something important, or just simply express support and love to you physically as well, basically. Like cats are really good at that. Like whenever you feel very emotional or you're crying or something, usually cats will come to give you emotional support. I heard from many, many people that they do that. I also experienced it a few times. So yeah, cats can do that. Oh yeah, like I think also cats are like great for neutralizing negative energies, or they have like a energetic neutralizing effect. And I think that's why they like tend to like sleep at like passageways or like doorways, or like I think people said that cats like to like sit or lay on places where like something negative has happened or something. They're like neutralizing that. I'm not sure about that, but it's very interesting. Okay, yes, animals and feathers. Yeah, like I'm not sure who it was, but I remember someone recounting that they asked for a sign that if they should do something, and if I should do that, then I want 5 feathers on my doorstep. And I think she thought that, hey, like that's too extreme, that will never happen. So great, I won't have to do that. And I think like in a few days, when she like opened the door, there were like 5 pigeon feathers on her on her doorstep. I was like, okay, like nailed it. So yeah, like some very crazy synchronicities can happen. I also remember like during a channeling session, I think that was a few years ago, when higher vibrations like started to do guided meditations or these Zoom meetings. And she was at one of the Patreon channeling sessions, and she asked something like, can she have a message or something to her? And the only thing that I was seeing is a oracle card in my head. And I knew the oracle card, but I didn't know the meaning of it. I was like, okay, like I will look that up, because obviously I couldn't do it at that moment. And a few hours later, like I go to sleep, I do my night's, I don't know, like protection work, clearing the house, protecting my field in the house as well. And the Oracle card deck is like a very cute, like a cool book type of thing. And it's like on the bookshelf. And I was just like, my attention was like drawn to the bookshelf. And strangely enough, like that Oracle card picture was on the, how do you call, not the spine of the book, I'm not sure if how that's called, the part that is like coming out from the books. And that Oracle card was like there, like printed on the cover. And I was like, holy shit, like it's there. And I like took out the box, I opened it, and I kid you not, the card on the top was the exact card. That was the card. And I was like, oh my God. And then I read, what does it represent? I think it represented, the name was Golden Crown or something. And it represented of like you stepping into the next phase of your journey, and like you're going to become a teacher and a guide for other people or something like this. I was like, oh my God, like you couldn't make this shit up if you could. Yeah, like many crazy synchronicities can happen like that too. And I think the most fun and interesting ones are when like something happens in the physical too. Like something like this, like you having that there in your hand, like showing you exactly what you need to know, and you cannot deny it because it's there in the physical. So yeah, rationalize that. Okay, so Rose Matter, I see feathers a lot, but I have chickens. Well, they have feathers too. They don't smell too good, but they have feathers too. Yes, in G Campus, as part of your team, there is your higher self. Yeah, like when you're receiving communications and guidance, people say, oh, it's from my higher self or guides. And I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Like you may see your higher self as a amalgamation, like a combination of many higher versions of you, like coming together on a very high level and sending you communications. And maybe your guides, maybe you have an Arcturian guide or Mary Magdalene, or I don't know, with whomever you're communicating with. And they're like a lower expression of the higher self, which is like closer to you in a resonance. Thus, you may have like a more easier way of communicating. Okay, Wendy Hunt, thank you for joining. I love the future and present connection you just made. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, like that's very, very crazy stuff with the future selves. And yeah, like I remember when I first heard this concept, I think it was from the Bashar channelings that Daryl Anka is the one who is channeling Bashar. And Bashar is basically like an alternate future version of himself. I was like, whoa, like that's so far out there. But with time, I started to understand how that works. Okay, so Donna, is it beneficial to work with a particular guide or group of guides? I don't think you necessarily have to like select like with your logical mind. I think the ones that are important and beneficial will always come to your attention and work with you. I don't think this is necessarily something you have to set up in this lifetime. Like that doesn't mean that you cannot request aid or assistance from, I don't know, like maybe a specific teacher or a specific being. Like that's totally valid too. But like regardless of what you think consciously, whatever you do, whatever you think, whatever you're focusing on, or whatever your goals are at this time, you will attract and bring in my throat. Energies, information, guides, maybe human beings, information that will assist you with that specific thing. So that's how it works. You're constantly like sending out signals, like this is what I'm experiencing, this is what I'm focusing on, this is what I want to do, and you're receiving back everything that will assist you with that. And this is a great mechanism. The problem is when we do this unconsciously, when you're like not consciously creating what you want to create, but rather you're just like doing stuff, and unconsciously you're recreating the negative belief systems lurking in your subconscious, the dark parts of your being which you haven't healed yet, basically. And that's why many people are having difficulty in life, is like that they don't really take ownership and responsibility for what they're doing. Like, what thoughts do you have? Like, how do you feel? How do you treat people? What activities do you take part in? And they like don't think about like what consequences, how will that reverberate back to me, basically. There are a lot of people who just do stuff, like, I don't know, like they feel like it and just do that. I mean, it's perfectly fine to be like in the flow, but I think like that's like that's more of a heightened state when you're in that divine flow, rather than being like in this unconscious state of functioning when you just do stuff. And it's like especially true if you're like consuming some kind of I know, like some kind of drug or drinking or something, then you like check out even more and you just do stuff, and you're like almost like functioning on an autopilot, like stepping back and like not being in the driver's seat, but like at the back, basically, just like observing as you're doing stuff. And usually when you do that, then stuff will come up that usually you wouldn't want to manifest. Okay, I will try again to go down and chat. Oh my God, we see we have many things happening. And yes, Julie, what about celestial guides? Like, are you referring to angelic guides or ascended masters, or maybe ascended extraterrestrial consciousness? Like, I will address all of them. Yeah, like I know like many people are reporting like having guides like angelic consciousness, like archangels, ascended masters, higher ET beings. I know, like people from Andromeda or Syrian guides. And like to a certain extent, if you like look closer and like work with them, observe them, and like feel their energy, like they kind of blend together, because the same archetypal energy can be expressed in many ways. Like, for example, we have, I think it's Master Kutumi, I think, and also Thoth, who are embodying the Wisdom Keeper archetype in our collective consciousness here on planet Earth. Of course, they had many embodiments and many activities. They have done a lot of stuff during our history, but that is how they are the keepers of that specific archetype in our collective. And also, whenever we think of maybe like wisdom or the record keeper, we think of them. But the same archetypal energy expresses itself in a different way in another culture or another star system. For example, my Syrian guides are the expression of the same archetypal energy, just simply in Sirius format. They express it in a very different way, although their energies are very similar. And yeah, like usually you can like call upon them. For example, yeah, like I also work a lot on a daily basis with angelic consciousness. I ask guidance and assistance with almost everything around them, especially for protection and making sure that everything is okay. And yeah, like they can come in many forms. And like, for example, like I have a very deep relationship with Archangel Michael. And yeah, like when you ask for example, protection or like insight into something, it doesn't necessarily mean that that specific being will like come in full force and like do that specific thing for you, but rather like, but they will send like an aspect of them, or send a synchronicity or a smaller fractal of themselves that will fulfill that request, basically, if that makes any sense. So Julie, once I had like a whisper gnome of Archangel Seraphiel, I hope I read that correctly. I never knew him, that he existed, and truly I have a deep connection with him. I feel he's my higher self. Yes, yeah, like we can also be aspects. Yeah, like you can see archangels as a higher aspect, a higher self, and we can also embody those archetypal energies as well. And if you're on your spiritual journey, you will sooner or later, I think you will discover and recognize like which archetypes do you represent in this lifetime. For example, in my case, I very much represent the archetype of Archangel Michael. I'm very blue. I like my blue thumbnails on YouTube. I also represent the blue ray of consciousness, and also the wisdom keeper, the keeper of records, which is also very much this Thoth energy. And yeah, I represent very much that in this lifetime as well. But I also have many connections to other lifetimes throughout our history when I basically did the same thing, just in a different time period. Okay, so let's see what else is out there. And Julie, and I knew my Pleiadian name by telepathy. And of course, a lot of synchronicities and telepathic connection. And I knew I'm a multi-dimensional being. I'm an old soul, yes. Yeah, like it's very interesting, this whole concept of old and young souls, I guess. Is that people refer to some human beings as like being old soul, or they're just like newcomers to this soul experience. And like to a certain extent, I think like the old souls are like the ones who are like more in tune and like more connected to many of their previous or different incarnations and experiences, and are like able to like draw upon that wealth of information and experience. And like, I know, like young souls or new souls don't necessarily have that many experiences in the physical, or simply, I think especially with like very much like earthbound humans, like people who have been stuck here in the karmic loop for a very long time. I think it's very fitting in that case that they do have a lot of experience, but throughout the reincarnational cycle, like going over and over and over, like recycling and like redoing the same thing over and over again, they kind of like lose that connection and like become more detached from their core. And that is why it was so difficult for such a long time to be on the spiritual path or to be a master, because it was like a very vicious, incarnation, energetic way of how things functioned here, incarnational wise. Now it is changing because it's being healed. But yeah, like that's why so many souls were stuck here on planet Earth, because they have like completely like lost connection with their higher aspect, with their core of being, and became very disconnected. Okay, Jacaranda Marie, remember to hit the like button, brothers and sisters. Well, thank you for hitting the like button. And if you're new, then please subscribe. I'm not sure how much it means these days if you subscribe or not, but if you do, thank you very much. But don't count on YouTube notifying you if I do anything. Okay, so Julia, Tiamat was the first being who came through me. When I tried to find info about her, it seems like she was a celestial dragon-like being who got split by Marduk and later become Earth and the Moon. Yeah, like that's very cool. I'm not very connected to Sumerian stuff, so I can't really comment on that. But yeah, like just as I said, we are embodying, each and every one of us are like embodying archetypal energies, and this is very much what you have mentioned is a very strong archetypal energy. And spiritual warrior, awesome name, love it. I did a divination muscle test to see how many lifetimes I've had. More than an invented human number, only 97 human lifetimes. Not as old as God, but definitely God kind. Explains why I feel so old. Yeah. Yeah, like maybe that's just the 97 that is coming up right now. And I guess like the more you go and search and delve deep, my voice is starting to give up here. The deeper you go and experience like who you are, probably you will find a lot more stuff. And that's just the only ones that are coming, you're connecting with right now. Okay. So Julia, so true. My cats are amazing. I lost my baby boy Tommy almost 2 years ago. I'm sorry. Now he was at my side every moment. With all the love. Yes, the spine of the book, I believe. Okay, so let's see. G Campus. Does someone know who is Vehmet? I'm not sure. I think that was brought up previously. I don't know. If anyone knows who or what is Vehmet. This name follows me since last year. Sounds Egyptian. Well, it sounds very similar to Sekhmet. I'm not sure. You should maybe check that out. It's Sekhmet. I think she's the mother goddess, I think. Or the goddess of motherhood. About feathers, they appear inside and outside of the house. Oh yeah, and no, Sekhmet, sorry. I confuse Sekhmet with Hathor. Like Sekhmet is the lion goddess, but also I think she's also associated with motherhood. Okay, so Jacaranda Marie. Okay, so let's see, Julia. My light language kicked in 1 year ago, but congratulations. It was a mix of Swedish, English, and Spanish. In a session I did my mom the other day, Tara, Jesus, Hathor, Tyr, Rhiannon, I'm not sure who that is, and they came through. Suddenly I said, clearing chip, and it started. That's interesting. Yeah, like we can go through maybe light language in our session, another time. Okay, so G Campus, you hear Hathor too? Okay. Sun and the Moon. And I see G Hunter, you have said something in Spanish maybe? I don't really understand that, or you're using a different type of keyboard. By the way, no, G Hunter. By the way, and again, thank you. So, Rose Matter. So, when you're talking to someone you admire, like a character in a book, is that more like an archetypal energy? I used to do this as a child. I'm not sure, but yeah, like we can use that maybe to reflect. And for example, like an archetype in a book or a character in a book or a movie or something that makes sense to you, like they can also use that as a symbol of communication with you. I mean, the guides. They can also sometimes maybe appear in your dreams, or just like the image or the archetype of that specific character may come into your mind, sending you a message, sending you a symbol regarding something that you're about to face or what you're experiencing at that time. Okay, so G Hunter, Tuesday's channeling, I asked how to identify if it is your inner voice or your highest self. Yes, so you were the one. Okay, awesome. I got a great answer. In your experience as a human, how did you manage to make that differentiation? Yes, like this is very important. Thank you for bringing that up. By the way, like before I started the whole session, I mean this live event, I was also thinking of that question, like that would be a really good one to share. So yeah, so how can you tell the difference between higher communication, your guides communicating, or simply your own mind's chatter, your own imagination? And I also share some stuff like how can you exercise that. So in general, I would say like the first impression that you get or the first gut impulse regarding whatever you're facing or asking is the one that your guides or your higher self is sending to you. Of course, the problem is that when you have a very busy mind, you're constantly like your thoughts are racing, or you're always distracting yourself with something. For example, your phone, or scrolling on something, or just simply being busy with work or whatever. For that is very difficult to come through, like for that information to come through. They're still sending it to you because you're in constant communication, but simply it's very difficult for you to perceive that subtle impulse that you're receiving. That is why you have meditation, basically, or the channeling state, or reflecting, because you calm down all the busyness, all the noise, and you let the subtle energies come forth. Or rather not come forth, but you allow yourself to notice it, basically. Okay. So yeah, like that's a great way to exercise it, to like calm yourself down, maybe actually ask something or have a question about a specific topic, or like, should I do this or should I do that? But it doesn't necessarily have to be during a meditation. Like you can develop this divine communication with time, and maybe just simply throughout your day, you're doing something and you want to go somewhere, and you like ask a question like, is it okay for me right now to do this, or maybe I should do something else? And you like get an impulse regarding that question. And many times communications can come through your own feelings. Like, for example, you're exposed to something, maybe an information, or maybe you're in the presence of a person and you feel a certain way about that specific thing that you're encountering. That's also very important communication, that maybe you feel uneasy next to when you're meeting a new person or someone. Maybe you, feel anxiety or uncomfortable when someone is near you. And maybe you should probably pay attention to why are you getting this vibe from that person. Or the other way around, you feel very much comfortable with a complete stranger, or you feel all of a sudden that you're opening up to them, or you have a very instant connection. That's also very good communication, that, okay, you're pretty much on the same wavelength, or you're going to do something together. Or the other one, that maybe they don't like that guy or girl that you meet you don't necessarily resonate as much, but for you, they're like, oh my God, like I need to talk to you. Or it's usually because like they have something that you need. Like maybe they can push you forward on your journey, or maybe just simply being in their presence will activate you in some shape or form. And that's also very much a communication. Or like when you feel that you want to go somewhere, but you feel that, okay, maybe I should wait a few minutes or do something before that. And then you later on find out when you get to that place, there was a car accident there or something. Like we had that strange stuff too, whenever we go somewhere with a car, I always like do this protection word that like we will travel in perfect safety, good health, and everything will to be perfect. Great. And we got stuck in traffic, and it was very annoying. But I guess the traffic delayed us from experiencing an accident on the road further ahead. So thank you, universe. So yeah, like that can happen too. And yeah, like how do you tell the difference between your divine impulses or guides' communications and your own mind's chatter or imagination? And I will say, like, they will communicate through your own thoughts. So just as when you're reading a book and you're reading the script, or like the text that the author has written in your own mind's voice, basically. And it will pretty much come through in that same format, that they are going to communicate through your own mind's voice. You are going to have thoughts about something. Sometimes it may feel very sudden and like out of place. Like, why am I having thoughts all of a sudden about this specific thing that I haven't encountered for years or something like that? And other times, and yes, they can also communicate through your imagination, because our creativity and imagination is a very important aspect of our being and of the whole human being, basically. We need that in order to thrive and to create new things. But also beware, because it has the other spectrum of it when it is becoming distracting. I wouldn't say toxic, but definitely distracting when you're indulging in fantasies or you're completely absorbed in them and like not walking on the ground and being grounded in reality, basically. But yeah, like they can come, the information can come through your imagination or inspiration too. And the best way to tell the difference is always the first impulse. Like that's what I always say. The first thing that comes into your mind, and don't rationalize it. Don't try to put it into boxes or color it or change it, because because that aspect is your ego mind. You like get an impulse and all of a sudden you like try to rationalize it or like distort it. Like that's the ego mind. That's your mind chatter. That's your imagination, not the good one. And yeah, like that's something that you should avoid if you can. And sometimes these things will blend together, especially in the beginning. It's very difficult to say, to tell the difference. So yeah, like practice. And after a time, you will be able to tell the difference. And most of the time, for me as well, sometimes I can't really tell, like, even though I have like, I don't know, like 12 years of experience of doing this. And there are like situations when it's not very clear, because like the answer or the answer to a specific thing is very nuanced. So it's not like an yes or no or good or bad. It's like, man, I don't know how to describe it more accurately. So it's something in between. It's very nuanced, and it's usually not that important something. I know like there's this category with my guides that when I like ask about something, they're like whatever, like just do one or the other. It doesn't really matter. Okay. So Jacaranda Marie, do you remember once during a Patreon channeling, I asked your guides who my teacher's guides were teaching me crystal healing, and they said Tehuti. Oh yes, who is that possible? How is that possible? Guides share themselves? Like, I don't necessarily understand your question. So basically, Tehuti or Jehuti is the Egyptian name for Thoth. Like Thoth is the Greek name for that archetypal energy. Yeah, I don't remember that session. I think that was quite some time ago. Yeah, like if you can like rephrase it, I don't specifically understand like crystal healing, yes. So they said that Tehuti was your teacher. How is that possible? Guides share themselves. I don't really understand what you are referring to. Okay, so Julia, I'm an old soul, not only on Earth lifetimes, but a lot of realms and universes. Yes, like everyone who is watching, you are an old soul, so welcome to the club. Yeah, like usually, I don't really like like this label, the old souls, because like everyone is kind of having their same connections. They're just not aware of it. But yeah, like these old souls have a lot of experience with such realms as Earth, and that is why we are here right now, because we have done similar work on other realms, other timelines, other planetary systems as we have done here. And thus we have came here to put ourselves to the test even more. Okay, let's, what else we have? I feel that the energy that I began to speak it automatically. Yes, Julia, you really enjoy Pleiadian light language. Awesome. Yeah, like, do you know Pleiadian Portal? That's a YouTube channel. Sananda Christ, like she is bringing through some awesome Pleiadian energies. And I resonate very much with her light language, or at least 2 years ago when I last listened to it. She has some awesome light language videos, but I think she's more active on Instagram, so check that out rather. Okay, in G Campus, sometimes my eyes move by their own, with or without dizziness. I believe that I am receiving something, but I can't understand their message. What do you think? I'm not sure. Oh, this chair. I'll have to find a new chair. So yeah, like regarding like movement, I know like many people have also, I also experienced that like relatively in the physical, like I wouldn't say like I don't know, like maybe your movement or your body is like given a direction that you didn't necessarily choose. Like it's not forced in a specific way or anything, because like they will never force you to do anything, but it's just like directed and like you're like kind of guided by an invisible force. Oh, it's 11, 11, 11. Awesome. You're guided by an invisible force towards something. And yeah, it's usually can be a synchronicity of like, yeah, like you're okay, or we are with you, everything's fine, everything's okay. Many times, I don't know, like synchronicity numbers, or I don't know, like you think of something like a word or something, and just someone says the exact same thing next to you, and you're like, wow, like we're so much in tune. But yeah, like synchronicities like that are there to like show that, okay, you're okay, everything's fine, we're with you, you're not alone. Or the other one, that they are like trying to draw your attention upon something. And yeah, like whenever something like that happens, like don't try to over rationalize it, but like pay attention to what could it be that they're trying to signal you, basically. Because many times, like how we communicate, it's very rudimentary, or I know, like unclear, because yeah, we don't always have a very direct connection, and we don't always interpret stuff correctly, which is a problem that I'm also experiencing too. That maybe I'm receiving some kind of signals or thoughts or synchronicities, and I'm like maybe misinterpreting stuff, and things don't necessarily turn out as I thought. But yeah, like it's a learning process, basically. Okay. Let's see what else is out there. G Campus, ear ringing doesn't stop. I have it since I can remember. Yeah, like people say that that can be also like a synchronicity. Like it's an energetic and vibrational shift, basically. And our ears are the organs that are sensitive and are interpreting sound. So that can also be a synchronicity. I don't experience that. And also, like if you're constantly experiencing like pressure in the ear or ringing, like you can stabilize it by like stabilizing your own energy, and it will simply go away. Like as I understand, like ringing in the ear and all this, is that you're in a specific vibrational state, or in a specific phase in your life, in your day-to-day life, basically. And something shifts energetically around you. Like this can be something, maybe planetary shift is happening, we're receiving something from the sun, or maybe a being or communication is like coming into your sphere or your surroundings, and like it shifts the energetic balance around you. And not always, but sometimes your body can react in that way. Okay, and with that, I think we are going to conclude today's event. If anyone has anything to share, like thoughts or questions, then please do so. Okay. And if there wouldn't be much, then there won't be many questions, and I will end the session soon. So just as a reminder again for everyone, I just got the info fresh from the source that yeah, like we were talking this day and this week about guides, how they work, how they function, how can you recognize them, how to communicate with them. And next week we are going to do a guided meditation with our guides to like try to more deeply connect with them, just very similarly as we have done how to channel guided meditation. It was like a month ago or so. We are going to harmonize with them, like bring them forth and communicate with them. And it will be very different for everyone, I'm sure. But that's going to be like the general guideline for next week of like together creating a sacred space, creating a place of perfect peace and balance where you can interact with your guides or whomever wishes to come forth, who is one of your deeper connections, basically. And yeah, that's about it. And also next month, I'm not sure when exactly, next month we are going to have another group channeling session on Zoom. It's going to be completely free. It's going to be private. It's not going to be recorded or aired anywhere. And the way that you can join is through a Zoom link that me and High Vibrations will be posting in our community sections on YouTube. And the way you can join is just when the time comes, you can simply hit the link and join the Zoom meeting. And I think we will also share it in the Telegram group with one High Vibrations Telegram group. So thank you very much for everyone who has joined. I hope the event was semi-interesting or very insightful. And I can't wait to see you guys next week when we are going to do a meditation, when we're connecting with our guides.